From a disastrous messaging app to a social media platform that was born with no popularity and died the same, Google has released a ton of apps that were absolute failures. And today, I'm listing down the worst of them. So, to begin with, let's talk about Google+. Back in 2011, Facebook was ruling the social media world. If you weren't on it, you were a nobody. The boomers were still remembering the good old MSN and Yahoo Messenger days, but let's be real, those platforms were trash.
It's trash.
Now, to compete with Facebook, Google decided to launch its own version of a social media platform, which was Google+. Straight off the bat, this app was the digital equivalent of your weird uncle who tries to be hip at the dinner table. And to make things worse, Google even acted like that with this app too. They forced everyone to join it, only for it to become a barren wasteland in, a couple of years? And it's not even like nobody tried to use it. People logged in, mostly just to see if anybody else was online. And guess what? They weren't online. Nobody was. It was as empty as your bank account after a trip to Dubai. The issue with Google+ was that while it tried to compete with Facebook, it didn't follow anything its competitor offered. The user interface was absolutely horrendous, and you couldn't even figure out what to do. Where are the messages? Where is the poke option? Where are the games? I remember the time when I hopped on Google+. I mean, I didn't have a choice, given how much they shoved it in our faces. Going back to that time, I now realize how shitty it was. I used it to text my girlfriend, and, she told me to just text her instead of using this sad excuse of a social media platform. In simple words, it was a shit show. But Google kept pushing it until 2019, when they finally realized that this just wasn't going to work. I mean, it took a catastrophic data leak for them to realize it, but at least they did. That was just one terrible app they made. And it seemed like they learned nothing from Google+'s failure. Because in 2013, they came out with Hangouts, which made texting, the simplest task known to man, as complex as it could possibly be. The idea behind Hangouts was to unify their messaging landscape, give the users a streamlined app where they can talk to each other easily through SMS and online chats. Kind of like what Apple does with their iMessage feature, but infinitely worse. It started simple, but little by little, Google split it into two separate apps, Google Chat for messaging and Google Meet for video calls, making everything more complicated. This was the moment when people started to lose their shit. You'd send an SMS and it would be sent as a Google Chat message. You'd try to call the contact from the message app and it would start a Google Meet call. It was chaos, and Google continued to annoy the living hell out of us without any shame. And that was the very reason why I never made it to my default messaging app. Despite Google's constant pop-up notifications, like just stop bothering me Google, I want to text people, not put myself in a position where I have to skim through a series of chats and ultimately give up due to stress. Ugh. Oh. And you would think that Google learned its lesson from the reviews, right? Well, they didn't. They went insane with the changes and made every single update as confusing as they could. It's like Elon Musk naming his kid. Find the most irrational thing and just tap yourself on the back, saying it's a sick idea.
Pure genius.
Thankfully, it died in 2022. Nobody knows what replaced it though. Let's just stick with a normal text messaging app, huh, Google? An equal disaster was Google's half-assed, sad attempt at VR. Google Daydream, an ambitious VR platform for Android phones, was released in 2016. Google tried to create some hype around it, but like everyone's New Year's resolutions, everyone forgot about it in a couple of weeks. The problem was that Google promised immersive VR gaming on smartphones.
Oh my god! Wow!
But that was just a promise. What they delivered were awkward headsets, mediocre apps, and, nausea.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
If only they offered something even remotely close to what Meta did with the Quest, maybe this could have been a winner. But nah, Google has just been stacking L's for years, and they weren't about to break that streak just yet. Now, Google Play Music is one of the few apps that everyone loves. Or at least used to. It was a simple, clean, and seamless app that played music. That's it. It served the purpose, and that's what everyone loved. Google, however, absolutely hates joy. They saw people listening to music with ease and thought, how do I destroy this sliver of peace they have in their lives? Well, enter YouTube Music. This app was exactly what Google Play Music was, just with an infinitely shittier interface, slow streaming, horrendous ads, just overall miserable. But Google didn't care. They'd rather have a difficult music app than let the Android users live a life of peace.
How could you do this to me?
Perhaps this is why all the betrayed people ditched YouTube Music forever and gave Spotify a big hug. I just wish Google Play Music would come back, or I get enough money to pay for Spotify Premium. Also, if you're still here, please hit the subscribe button and help me get the 100k plaque. Please? Thanks. Alright, back to the topic. We were talking about the terrible replacement apps, so let me introduce Picassa. Most of you wouldn't remember it because, well, you're too young and carefree. But for the old-timers, and by that I mean people in their mid-20s, you probably remember what life was like before Google Photos took over. See, this was Google's favourite thing to do. They saw an app people actually liked, and just thought, let's kill it.
Burn it.
Then came Google Photos, which, well, let's just say it was okay. That said, you'd go crazy with the collages, memories, and those random 3D animations it creates that pop up on the screen, but I guess we've all gotten used to that by now. I mean, to some extent, I understand Google's decision. They wanted a seamless Photos app like Apple had, and Picassa wasn't exactly that. Google Photos kept everything in one place and had a few additional features like filters, advanced editing options, backup storage, and some other stuff. The only issue was, their UI sucked out. It was so confusing and in your face that I just tried to find my photos and videos from the stock gallery app on my phone. So out of all the apps here, I think Picassa was one of the few that people loved. But Google still killed it for no apparent reason. But let's come back to the worst apps Google ever made, and believe me, there are quite a few in Google's graveyard. One of those is Aloe, which was Google's millionth attempt at taking over WhatsApp and iMessage. Imagine trying to start a superhero universe against Marvel and DC. I mean, sure, you can try, but does anybody need you to? Not really. Google, ever the egotistic company, still trying to do it. Now, I don't really blame Google for trying. WhatsApp, Viber, Kik, and various other apps were taking over the messaging space, and it would have been dumb for Google to not play their hand. Tech developers were giving insane value to the people through these apps, and Google wanted to help its users too. Doesn't sound bad, right? Well, it was. It was really, really bad. For starters, Aloe had no SMS integration. Imagine having a chat app on your phone that can't even send a text. That's like having a microwave that works but doesn't warm up your food. Come on, Google, you had one job. Also, they somehow thought that adding Google Assistant right into the chat app was a smart move. Well, it wasn't. Who wants to be reminded of Aunt Mary's 50th birthday party while your girlfriend is breaking up with you over text, right? And then there was Google Buzz, the OG privacy nightmare. Remember the time when you woke up and suddenly discovered that you were now friends with everyone in your Gmail contacts? Yeah, that was Google Buzz at work.
Oh, hell no!
It automatically added all your contacts as friends, even your exes, your landlord, the salty aunt nobody invites on Thanksgiving, but she still shows up, and everyone else. It was like the first time we all experienced true digital panic. For those of you who don't remember it, just think of it like you accidentally like a 3-year-old Instagram picture of your ex.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
That sucks, right? Well, Google Buzz sucked more. It was a miracle that this thing lasted for an entire year, but thankfully it was deleted forever. And lastly, there was Google Wave. I don't pretend to understand what it was, because nobody ever understood this app. It was some kind of futuristic messaging app that combined email, chat, and social media, but it was extremely bad at it. You had no idea where your chats were, who you were texting, or even if your text messages were being sent to the recipient. Basically, it was a perfect combination of confusion, frustration, and existential dread. Let me put it this way. It was the digital equivalent of an IKEA closet, but without the DIY instructions. You knew what it did, but you just didn't know what the hell to do with it.
Don't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, man.
Nonetheless, Google stood by its decision to launch this app. In their words, it was going to revolutionize how we communicated.
Shut up, bitch!
It revolutionized nothing but confusion. Thankfully, the app lasted less than 3 years, and then it disappeared faster than your stimulus check on Amazon Prime Day. Today, we've just accepted apps as they are. This has a lot to do with companies realizing that people prefer simplicity over their weird, boomer sense of coolness. But looking back, Google's graveyard proves 2 things. 1, even tech giants can produce epic flops. And 2, we had a lot more patience back then. Imagine if you had to face a similar app today. The iPad generation would unleash hell. So here's to all the apps that line Google's graveyard today. We had fun with a few, but for the most part, we couldn't be happier that they're dead. Let me know which app you dreaded the most, and if you could bring one app back from the dead, which one would you choose? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.